So, Generation X was raised on struggle. Millennials are choosing peace. It's time for Generation X to unlearn the hustle and step boldly into the soft life. So, basically, millennials are out here living the soft life like it's their birthright. And honestly, it should be. But what about us Generation Xers? We were raised to hustle, to grind, and to survive. This episode is about reclaiming peace, rejecting burnout, and finally choosing ease without guilt. So, what's up, y'all? How y'all feeling about this soft life? Y'all,
Good.
I mean, our youngsters that are, I won't say youngsters because we're young too, but just a little extra seasoning. But they're out here living soft life. They're refusing to do the things that we chose to do or felt that we had to do. They have a whole nother perspective on things. So how y'all feeling about this?
Sign me up. Sign me up, because it sounds good to me. I'm gonna tell y'all a really quick story. I was on YouTube today, and one of the young ladies that went to college with my daughter,
Mhm.
I, for some reason, her stuff popped up on my feed, like recommended for you to watch. And this young lady went to college, got a college degree, and she literally was like, I do not want to be in the hustle and bustle anymore. She was living in Philly. She was like, nah, this ain't the life I want to live. I want to say on one of the videos I watched of hers, she had over 100,000 people view the video. She's living off grid.
Oh, shut
No
up.
kids, no husband. It's upstate New York. But when I say living on her own terms, and it's just I mean, mentally, you have to be okay with being alone. But there's more and more families that are choosing to live off grid too. But yeah, the soft life is something I'm striving for at this point.
Well, I mean, I had to be brought up to speed. I'm not gonna lie on the terminology, but as fate would have it, I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and she was telling me that there's this influencer that she follows, and I, the woman just happened to walk in to whatever, I don't know if my daughter was in a restaurant or where she was, I can't remember. And she walked in with her older gentleman, and I guess my daughter went up to her and said, hey, I follow you, and the woman was real nice to her and stuff. And she said, but mom, they call this woman all kinds of, what do you call it, gold digger, this, don't want to do this and don't want to do that. But yet and still my daughter's telling me that younger men are asking her, on dates and stuff, and saying, what do you bring to the party? And expecting things that, I was stunned. I was really just stunned how boldly that she was telling me that happens. And so I was like, what is this? And she was like, yeah, women are choosing not to, be down for the struggle no more, and that there's a better way, just like you're saying, Sheila, that the woman saying, okay, I'm making a conscious decision that this is not what I want, and before we go down this road too far, let me switch it up, before I go down this road too far. So, I mean, when we were growing up, we were raised that the next generation should be doing better than the last and all this. And I will say this about these millennials, they're at least wiser on a lot of levels, willing to buck the system and create something that works for them. And I got to give it to them for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they don't really care about the things we used to care about. I mean, they believe in like doing things on their own terms. You know, I have a 19-year-old, he's soon to be 20, and he has that attitude where, you know, he will follow the rules, but only to like a certain point. If it's something that goes beyond him, or if he's just doing it just so that it pleases, you know, what they say we're supposed to do, then he's not cool with it. And I respect him for that, because that's the only way that you truly are going to be your authentic self. And I think we talked about that in previous episodes, that, you know, that's important for us to be authentic. In this generation, they seem to have it, where they ain't settling. Like they're not they're not going for like, okay, I'm just gonna go on and just do this just because I got to survive. You know, they're not doing it, you know.
They realize it's not worth it.
But I think that they also have not just the mental capacity, but the resources to say, like when COVID happened and everybody had to work from home, a lot of them were like, yeah, I don't ever want to go back into work. I don't ever want to be in the office. I don't want to know. This is my big line. I don't want to know how nobody's weekend was. I don't want to know about your kids.
Right.
I don't even want to hear about your dog dying. I just want to go to work, do what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And there's so many opportunities that people can live a soft life, whether it's working from home full time or living abroad and still working, you know, still getting a paycheck. But there's something in, you know, paying $2,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And living abroad and paying $300 a month for an apartment with a pool in it and somebody to fold your clothes and I mean, totally soft. I mean, that's like marshmallow soft life.
Just a different lifestyle, and that's attainable.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know what? See, this is what my concept of it is that we as Gen Xers are kind of caught in between, right? We watched our parents work these jobs that did have the benefits, and when they were going to retire, they were going to be taking care of it and all this and all that. And I was talking to a potential business partner yesterday, and I think it was yesterday, and I was telling her, I said, you know, it's different now, and we need to embrace different and make a change. I mean, a lot of times I'm talking to business women, and you know, I hear these things like, oh, I didn't have to do that before, I never had to do this before, I liked it the way it was. And it's like, you know what, that's fine for then, but things are different now. I don't want to hear about what was done in 1953 when we're sitting in 2025. Okay. It's different. There has been look at AI. It is changing everything. But to your point, the millennials, they're changing the workforce. You know, I don't know. I know you guys are in different states than I am, but I'll go to stores and there's like 3 people in the whole damn store working. I'm not kidding. Wow. They cannot get the workforce because these kids are serious. It is not in their value system. It is not worth toiling like we did, you know, for the pennies that they're going to get. And they do, to Sheila's point, have other options. So they are making decisions that are actually affecting a lot of things.
Yeah, well, the thing is now too, I think, which is a little bit, I would say is different from us, is that they have the internet. You know, the internet didn't come out. I think I was leaving college and it was coming out. So, I mean, that's something that they have to their advantage. And a lot of millennials have taken the route of, you know, going tech. You know, a lot of them, they get themselves certified in certain things. I have a cousin who did this. He stopped going to college and he went on and got his certification in cybersecurity, and the boy is balling now. I mean, like literally, no, for real, like balling. So, so I mean, it's just a choice. They they choose like, okay, I don't have to go work at Macy's. I don't have to go work at Foot Locker. Not
Right.
like saying something is wrong with those places, but they've just chosen a different route. And you're right. They refuse. Like they're not gonna be grind, they're not gonna grind like we did. And I think that's probably a good thing in a way because they probably won't have health challenges. I
Yeah.
would think because the stress factor and everything that we adopted from our parents because
Right.
we did grow up with them. Your grandfather, he was with this company for 50 years. Your daddy was with this company, so you feel like, okay, well, I have to do this. But then there's like, for me, it's always been free bird. I've never wanted to be just with a company forever. But in that mindset of my parents, they feel that that's the bee's knees, that you have to rely on that, which is not the case for these millennials. They could care less about that. They gonna make their way
And I
regardless of.
know a lot of them are happy that they didn't get no good old government job.
Yeah,
Government job.
exactly.
Because literally that was the thing. You go
Yeah,
get you
that
a government
was
job, stay there for 30 years, and you can retire, and you're
right,
gonna be too old to enjoy it, but that's okay. You're gonna have some retirement benefits, and
right,
okay, you're not gonna be able to walk, you're not gonna be hard to be able to
But,
talk, but you're gonna have some
but
retirement
Sheila,
benefits.
right,
but wait a
right.
minute. But wait a minute. See, this is what these old heads need to understand. Sorry, y'all who listen, and I'm calling you old heads. But look, it's different now. The companies are, even the government is different. Do you see these people that have been on these jobs for how long? And they just
Yes.
pay attention the last 2 months.
Oh
Bye.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
With
got
no
a
warning.
government job with no warning.
Yes.
They're gonna get a paycheck till what? September, maybe.
Some of
right.
them, the ones that
And
agreed
then
to
what?
it.
And these
Yeah.
people have been with the government, have proven records. No, so that's what I'm saying. We're in different times now. And to the millennials' credit, they were raised, like Chrissy was saying, they were raised on the internet. It's nothing for them. Social media, they came up on social media. They don't remember a president before Obama. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
For real.
Yeah, that's true.
Literally.
And so
That's true though.
it's
Yeah.
different. It's a different world. And I understand back
It was
then that was true. Stay with the company for 30 years. If
Mhm.
you had that opportunity, you were going to be good. It's not that way anymore.
no,
And
No.
but
for
you know what?
us
It
not to
shouldn't
adjust.
be because who would want, like, realistically, I saw my dad in the military 30 years. So career, he made a career out of it. Then he had a second career where he ran a nonprofit organization. He
Okay.
literally drove from Springfield to Baltimore, and that's
Oh.
every day.
What?
Oh my
And
God.
that's like at least an hour and a half or two
Yeah.
hours with traffic.
Mhm.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his big thing in when he did his second job, it wasn't like, oh, I need to make money. He was like, okay, I want to get out the house and I want to do something that's meaningful. So
Mhm.
that was the mindset that he had. And I remember him telling me that this guy was like, oh, I want to speak to your manager. And he was like, sir, the only people that are in charge of me at this point in my life is God and my wife. If you ain't them two, I ain't worried about this job and I'm not worried about you. But
Right.
but that's the mindset that the kids have nowadays. They're just like, okay, I'll stay here for a year or two, and then on to the next.
Mhm.
The next thing that's paying
Mhm.
more. The next thing that's
Mhm.
less stressful. The next thing
Mhm.
that I don't have
Mhm.
to put as much, you know, grit in the game.
Yeah.
Sheila, I was working at a startup. I was working with this startup, and these young people, I was specifically remember this young woman saying that she thought 6 months was a long period of time.
Shut up. I heard 3 years.
Okay.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I heard
they're
3 years.
they're hopping from job. They're going
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
a
that we
year.
would we would look side eye. And can you imagine having that on your resume that you were there for 6 months and or a year or something like that? They're like, well, what happened? Why did you leave? But it is
Girl, we wouldn't even put that on our resume.
we would
Or what they do, but what
exactly.
they do with that is they put they word it on their resumes like as far as like subcontracting. They don't
Yep.
make it look like they were an employee. They make it
Exactly.
seem like I'm my own brand. I'm
Yep.
subcontracting myself out. This is experience I did. I worked on this project,
Yep.
and that's how they do it. They reword it that way. That's how they
Yeah.
got a way for
That's
everything.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Even so much where this is a girl I know, a colleague I know that she started her own like a staffing agency. Why? So when she applies for jobs, they will be calling her
Uh,
and she'll be verifying her information. It's legal. She
message.
got to register yes. So
Message. Like that
yes,
sounds like something good to do.
yes. So that's what she does.
Yeah.
And she has no issues. So I mean, they with it. I mean,
it is not the old system anymore.
no,
That's what
no.
I mean, and if you don't at least try to understand that you are in a whole different decade, a whole different, that was 3 decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at what you're just talking about. The internet wasn't even around when we were in
Mm-mm.
school. You know,
Mm-mm.
these kids now have grown up on the internet. They don't know the world
Mm-hmm.
without the internet. Okay.
Yep.
They do
No.
this thing at the end of every year. I think it's at the end of every year where they talk about the different isms and different things that are particular to a certain generation. And I remember this one time they were doing the results and they were saying that there nobody before this age group knew what it was like for it to not be proper for a bra strap to be out. You know, like if you're wearing a tank or something like that.
Right.
They're used to so many things that when we were kids or when we were growing up was definite no-nos. It was not social norm. It was not the standard. And that's changed. That has changed.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. We
Most
wouldn't think
definitely.
about going to another country and working remotely from over there. You know what I mean? It would sound outlandish if we were talking about this back in the 80s. But now
Right.
it's like, oh, yeah.
Right.
Because we're global, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Or people are also making the sacrifices to say, okay, we're going to move globally or internationally so my wife doesn't have to work, so we can have her home and raise the kids, and maybe the husband have the government contract job or the job that he can do from wherever, so that the life, like the soft life, in full effect. You know, they don't have to stress about bills. They don't have to stress about, okay, how are we going to get so and so to practice? And it's just like, okay, it's like a conscious effort to make sure that life is stress free, or as stress free as possible.
Right. You know,
Yeah, and I think the pandemic taught that
yes.
because a lot of people didn't realize that it's always been there. It's just these companies have, held on to it that, okay, you can be remote.
Yeah.
You can do this, you can do that. Even though, I had, worked remote before the pandemic, but, for other people, like, I didn't even know we can do that. They've always had these capabilities, but they're so stingy and so
Right.
greedy
Right.
that they get all these write-offs for, their employees coming into work, coming into the office for the real estate, the places that the brick and mortars that they're renting or leasing or whatever, that they're so greedy about it. But honestly, we should all be living a soft life. It's just the way it's set up. Yeah, it's just set up this way. And I'm like, it comes down to like my mother. I remember talking to her and she was like mad, but this is just her generation. She was like, I just don't understand. They can't find anybody to work. I went into this store and the man said, you can't find nobody. I don't know what's wrong with these kids. They don't want a job. They're just lazy. I said, no, it's not about them being lazy. It's about the fact that they feel like they work more. Well, Chrissy, I mean, not being worth more and not working. Period. I said, well, Mama, you don't know what they doing. They could be working remote. You don't know what they're doing. There's so many things that they can do, but from her age, from what she's thinking, it's like, oh my God, they're not doing nothing. They're just refusing to work. No, they're not taking the hard route, and I don't blame them.
And
you
they
know what
don't
I'm saying?
have to.
No.
They don't have to.
So if y'all were in a position that, just say we were in our early 20s and we had the knowledge that we have now, would you consider working or living abroad.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah, most definitely. If America was like it is now,
it don't even have to be like it is now.
I'm about to say, it don't even have to be like it is now. It could have been like it was then, and it wasn't bad then.
Experience something outside of
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Visit. I'm about living, y'all.
Right? I mean,
I would have like, it would be a lot different. Like I would probably be like a, expat where I maybe go a couple months here and there, but I would still want to live here if it was like it was a long time ago. And we had the internet. I couldn't live. Y'all could do it. I'll come visit y'all.
She'll come visit.
I could live. I could definitely live.
I mean, you put that out there, and I definitely agree with you. But like for me, I had a different path, right? I was a very young mother. I was married very, very young to my first husband, but I struggled. And
how old were you when you got married, Adrian?
19.
Okay, I was 22.
19, 18, 19, something like that. I had graduated because I graduated early for my age. But I started a family immediately, and but it was not an easy time. It wasn't an easy time, and so my kids saw that struggle. They saw I made it happen, but it wasn't easy.
Right.
And so given the opportunity to make some other choices, my children didn't start having my grandchildren until they were in their mid-20s. Good on them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Good on them, because they were mature. They had lived and done things that I wasn't able to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I mean. Now there's different opportunities for these younger people, and I love it that they're tapping into it, that they're not the latchkey kids that we were, and that they didn't really tap into the imagery that we saw. What was Will Smith's movie where he played that man that was struggling?
Oh, honey, Lord, that makes me so sad.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, with his little son, and they was just sleeping in the bathroom, and
yeah, it was always a struggle.
What is it called?
Oh, it starts with a P. I can't think of it right now.
I can't either. Wait, you have to get our assistant. Quita. We need you.
I'm scared of the answer she's gonna give you.
What was it called? It started with a P, right?
Oh gosh, what is it called? Okay, wait.
But even like The Working Girl, and these movies, they were always about this struggle, and it's like, yeah, that's not the T, and
no,
it's not about being homeless or not. It's there's other options now. There's other options. Yeah. Why shouldn't they do that? As opposed
honey, the pursuit of happiness. Honey.
That's it. Yep.
I knew it started with a P.
That's it.
Yep. Pursuit of happiness. Yes. But he had to go through what?
Hell. Oh my God.
Literally.
I was so tired at the end of that movie, though. I was like, oh my God.
I wanted to cry.
Oh my God.
I was tired. Oh my God. Too much. Oh my God. But finally.
But that's what our parents resonate with, right? Well, you work real hard, and you're going to be rewarded. You can work real hard in this day and time. You can work real hard
and be overlooked, underpaid,
in a minute.
Yes, dismissed, all of that.
Okay.
And don't be a person of color. Don't be a person of color, please. Okay.
No.
You really,
I think another big factor that kind of plays into like why this generation is living the soft life. 1 to 2 generations removed, slavery had just ended. The things that happened in the 19th century that we that we were one generation removed from
Yes.
was crazy. I mean, like
Mhm.
unthinkable.
That's what
Mhm.
And when you see stuff like that, and I think that's another big reason why they want to erase so much of our history, is because if they don't know about it, if they don't know about the struggle, then they don't know that, how hard that the people before them had it.
Right.
Or what they can do. Like, because that's what I always think of. I always, when I'm thinking about everything we're going through now, that's been like the catalyst for me. I've been like, okay, well, granddaddy said he had to go through this. And I remember that. So I remember that stuff. And Natty, you're right. They're trying to erase that, but trip this out. That just really brings something to me when you said that, because I was talking to my therapist, which is an excellent African American therapist. If anybody needs an African American woman therapist, please let me know. I will give you her information.
Give me her information, please.
Yeah, I will give you her information. She does televisits. Yes, she does. She's awesome. But
love that television.
I'm giving her a plug. Yeah, sorry, shameless plug. Sorry. Okay, but anyway, so talking to my therapist, she was like, I was telling her, I was like, I always feel like I have to be busy. Like I always feel like if I'm not busy, then I'm like worthless. And she was like, where'd you get that from? And I was like, I don't know. It's just something I do. She's like, okay, well, who told you that? And I was like, well, they didn't really tell me that. I said, but like growing up, like my mother, like if I was like saying I'm bored, my mother would be like, okay, find you something to do. Go get you a book. Go read a book. Go write. Go do this and that. So I will always feel like it was embedded in me, like early. My grandmother too, that if you weren't busy, that you were idle, and you were like, I guess in my mind felt like I was like, I took it as like being lazy. And she told me, well, how old was your grandmother? And I said, well, my grandmother was born in 1909. And she said, Chris, that's from your grandmother was born after slavery, but that's what her parents taught her, and their parents taught them. And she was like, and that just passed down to you. And that's why you feel like that. You're like, you can't rest. Because I feel I can't take naps. Like I feel like I'm missing something. And I've been like that since a kid. Like I always feel like, oh my God, I'm missing something. But she said, you're supposed to rest. She was like, wait a minute, didn't God rest? And I was like, oh, done. I was like, okay. I was like, done.
He sure did.
I was like,
guess what?
over.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Right. I was like, session over.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, are you bigger than God? I was like, oh my God. Okay. Session over. Thank you. Thank you. You're right.
I mean, that's like an epiphany. Like,
right.
Like seriously. Like that is
done. Yes.
Wow.
I was like, okay. All right. So now I takes a nap. Okay.
Boss ass tired.
Yes, I've gone down here.
I want to commend. Was it your grandmother? I want to commend her because I never, not never, one time said to my mother, I was bored, and see that same mentality. I'm just going to tell you what happened to me though, Chrissy. She said, oh, you bored, huh? Every piece of glassware.
Yeah.
You remember? Take it all down. Wash
silverware.
The sterling silver.
All of that.
Yeah.
I would never know more bored. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
That was the wrong thing to say. I got the message.
Right.
So yeah, but it does come out of their mentality. And and that's why I can understand why your parents would say and believe the things that they believe. And even who I was talking to yesterday, they were, alluding that these kids, they don't have the education to be commanding or demanding what they say they're worth. And I'm like, who's to say that?
But who, you know what I mean? Who is the person that evaluates them to say? I mean, there's IT people that are making hundreds. I mean, I literally know it's like, I don't know him personally, but it's one of my kids' friends. But he's grown. He's like in his 30s. He has like 3 or 4 full-time IT jobs at one time.
He job stacks, baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And that's so smart because it doesn't require more time necessarily if you are doing them within the same, like 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever.
Mhm.
But
I mean,
the amount of money and peace of mind that you could have,
come on.
Yeah.
There are
What?
other ways now. Instead,
Yeah, it is.
when I was working in corporate America, this is a long time ago, right? So this is 30 years ago, when I was raising my kids, right? I found myself being more committed to the business than some of the people that were above my pay grade. And one day I realized this, excuse me, what am I thinking? My name
Right.
is not on the outside of this building.
Yes, baby. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Come
So
through.
not to say I'm not going to do my job, but excuse
Phew.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm sacrificing my child sick and I gotta go to work. You know,
Right. Right.
I remember her saying to me, that, Mom, you said whenever I was sick, I would not have to be alone. And I was like, oh man,
Oh Lord.
nope. I said, and you said, oh my
And
gosh. But you get into
Oh,
that mindset,
yeah.
you have got to go to this job. And it's not that,
Mm.
you want to have, what did our parents call it? A good work ethic.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
that core.
Borderline
Mhm.
slavery
There
ethic.
it is.
no, that's not borderline. It's all the way
It just
there.
is.
I mean, I
Yeah.
literally remember in one of my sales and marketing jobs, I would answer my phone at 10 o'clock at night. Do I get paid to answer my phone at 10
That's
o'clock
right.
at night?
Right.
No. If I was
Mhm.
on vacation, I would answer my phone. I can remember the administrator saying,
Mhm.
okay, you can go on vacation, but I want you to answer your phone because I don't trust the girl that's going to be in the office. And I'm like,
Ah,
okay,
yeah, right.
but let her. Ooh, now, mm,
Mm, mm-mm.
at 5 o'clock, this phone will be switched off so quick.
Girl,
You have reached the voicemail box of,
damn right.
Be like,
because I'm not talking to nobody.
No,
I
I
don't care
got
what they
boundaries
need
for
or
family.
want.
I got
Mm-mm.
right.
boundaries for family, Sheila. Everybody knows.
Wow.
Hey, do not
Hmm.
call me after 10 because she's gonna lose her mind. She's gonna think something's wrong. Because it needs to
Hmm.
be something wrong if you
Yep.
are calling me at 10 o'clock at night.
Thanks.
And and seriously, my kids are like, okay, I can't call her because she's gonna flip out. Because no, and when I have my business, when I have my childcare, these parents would call me, girl. That made me get another phone number because they were calling me, Sheila, during Sunday service. And
Wow.
Oh,
I
that's
thought
so
it was
rude.
family or something. This is before, texting and all this kind of stuff. So I
Yeah.
was like, and I step out of the sermon to see who was calling me, and they're just asking me. I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Oh no, oh no, oh no. If I don't have your child, you have no business calling me at
Wow.
outside of that time. You have plenty of time to call me." So yeah, these millennials are opting for, we're calling it a soft life. It's a serene life.
Yeah, exactly.
And boundaries. The boundaries is an important.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Boundaries
Yeah.
ain't bad, are they? They
no,
are
No,
good.
they're not. They're
Mm-mm,
really good. They're
mm-mm.
really good. Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you guys this. How do you set boundaries now that you didn't in the past? Like how do you do that?
Say no and be okay with it.
Mhm. No, it's not a bad word. Learn
It's
that
No,
sure
first.
it's not.
not.
Hmm.
Learn that first. It is not a bad word. It's
And
just
it's also okay to hurt people's feelings. To,
mm,
That's
to, to
true.
preserve your
to prefer.
sanity or your feelings or
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
That's
That's
true.
I mean,
That's true.
no, I mean, I don't know. See, I'm on the other side of 60 and I just don't even know
You
how
don't
to
even
act
care.
no I just could not give one damn anymore. I'm sorry. I think I swallowed my feelings for too long, suppressed it, oppressed it. That's from my therapist, Chrissy.
Huh.
Pushed it down, pushed through all the words. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's like I got no more of that left. It is what it is. And I'm just not with it no more. It's like, nope,
Right.
doesn't feel good. If it doesn't, her words are, if it doesn't serve you, Okay.
Right.
It doesn't belong.
Exactly.
That's not selfish.
Exactly.
It's not.
That
And I
is
think a lot of people get that confused, like, oh my gosh, she said no. Like, does this make me like no, they just have a boundary, and like they're not willing to bend to just make somebody else happy, because that's not is what truly is making them happy.
right. And we've gotten to a point. I know that we all have this in common. We have sacrificed. We
Oh
have.
yeah.
And so when does that end? Is it just going to be perpetual? I don't think so.
I remember when Chris had Taj, and I would, have to come through DC traffic to get to her. And she's like, oh, I'm going to have like one of the kids at night. And I'm like, why?
I sure was.
Why?
I sure was, baby. Like, why? Why? And I was just tripping because I had myself caught up in a hustle mentality, which is that's bad. You never want to be like, but we have songs that kind of influence that, I'm a hustler, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it kind of got in your
Hustle and
mind.
flow. Yeah.
I'm moving, grooving. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got in that flow where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Just like, I'm living, I'm breathing. Why not? But that is so detrimental to you being a human being. When do you enjoy it? Yeah, you might be making money, but when are you enjoying it? And that's like in anything, like you have to have balance. And now, even when people negotiate jobs with these companies, they always bring up the fact of work-life balance. A lot of it sometimes is bullshit the stuff that they bring up, but you yourself can negotiate that. Okay, well, this is what I want, this is what I need. And I'm sure the millennials, this is what they do when they negotiate. Negotiate for us was like, okay, so what you offering me? Okay, I'll sign. It was different, but they have grit. They have
they're
bold
asking for more
boss.
vacation time. They're
Yeah.
asking for sign-in bonuses. They're
Yes.
asking for stuff up front before they even get the job. Like,
Yes.
Mondays, I'm only going to work half a day because I have to do my yoga, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And
Right. Yep.
But see, that's what they're good at, right? Is like redefining what success is. And for them, it's purpose and balance,
Right. Right.
And so they know as long as their needs are met, they're not going to sacrifice the rest.
Exactly.
Like having your little girl at home sick and you're at work, because you feel like you have to be at work. I'll never forget my husband telling me this story. This was, I live in California, so we had the before the metro was called RTD. You remember that, Chrissy?
Rough, tough, and dangerous, baby.
So there was this gentleman, and I think he worked on the buses, you know what I mean? Like repaired them and whatnot, whatever. So he worked for years and years and years. I mean, like 30 years, right? So he worked on the buses, whatever. This man never, hear me now, never took off work. Not for birthdays, graduation, nothing. He took a half day off to go to his wife's funeral.
That's crazy. He made that job.
Okay. So this was on the news now. Okay. So at the end of his employment, he finally was going to retire, and they told him, you can ride the RTD for the rest of your life. You want to know how long the rest of his life was?
Girl, what? Shut up.
He gave his life to
That's
that.
Crazy. No
he
way.
Live a life. How much did he miss? And I would never forget that story. I was like,
yes, baby. And I'm gonna tell you this. That's what you give me is I could ride on the rough, tough, and dangerous on my. You should have been giving me a car. Okay.
Something.
See, that's that's what the older generation needs to understand. No, there's no more gold watches, y'all. Okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
No, you ain't even gonna get a plaque no more. Right.
Wow.
Well, that's the same thing with my dad. He worked for LA Times, and when he worked for LA Times when I was a kid, it was owned by the Chandler family. And I can remember as a kid, they were just so sweet. Like they would send so many gifts home. Like for Christmas to me. Then
Mm.
I remember they would have big galas, all kind
Mm.
of stuff I can remember. But then when it changed and it changed hands, that
Mhm.
company itself changed. So
Mhm.
you have to realize that it's not the same like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s,
Not.
where you can have a job and you can grow with that job and that job loves you and that job invests in you. These jobs look at you like numbers now,
Yeah.
basically. And they will, you people, look at that lady y'all heard about, like, what was it, last year? Died in her cubicle. Did you hear
No.
her? At
What?
Capital One or something. Yes, in corporate, she died. Girl, they found her body. The janitor found her body over the weekend. It was like a long weekend, like Thanksgiving or something, baby. Came
Oh
up in
my.
there, janitor came up in there. The lady was smelling because she has been in
Oh,
there. Yes.
Wow.
So what do you think they
That's
did?
crazy.
What do you think they did but clean that
Removed
area?
the body and had somebody else in the cubicle the next.
Right, right.
right. Oh
Mhm.
my God.
Yes, they don't care nothing about you. Like
Mm-mm.
those days are long gone. And even if then, if they cared about you,
Yeah.
it was because, maybe they had to. But now you think they care? No. So
Wow.
I mean, you have to, the way I look at this is if you choose to work for anything outside entity, you have to look at like a business partnership. And I
Mhm.
think that's what these millennials are doing back to them is that they
Right.
look at it like, okay, business partnership. I'm providing you a service,
Right.
meaning these are my conditions.
Mhm.
And if you don't go with them, then I'm going to go to the next person. And I'm always looking for the next buyer.
Yeah.
Who's better.
They're
Right.
going
That's
to take their lunch breaks. They're going to take off. They're going to use all their vacation days.
yes.
I mean, I literally had so much sick time when I had Taj that I think I was off work for 4 months.
Mm.
And then when I came back, I said, I only want to work part time the first few weeks because, and my boss was like, just bring him to work. We can put a crib in the closet in your office. And I'm like, I'm not getting ready to do that. I'm sorry. No.
Right. No. See?
And I was on maternity leave answering my phone.
Oh
Oh
my.
no. Oh no, 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 no.
But see, see, it's a whole new game, right? And that's what I mean. It's just a shift, and the people who resist the shift, they're really behind the times. Just to be honest, okay? Because
Yeah.
these kids now, I know that I told you guys about the story. I think it was last year when my daughter was telling me this. That first of all, there's full on TikTok channels or whatever profiles that will let these kids know what their rights are. By the way, and this one situation she was telling me about, she said this one young woman told her boss, she said, okay, it was the end of the day. She said, okay, so today, just so you know, is my last day. I'm leaving. And he said, what? You're not going to give me 2 weeks notice? She said, oh, but when you let go of Johnny last week, did you give him 2 weeks notice?
Sure. No.
Okay. She
No.
said, so no, this is an at will situation. Remember, that goes both ways, baby.
Yeah.
And
I
they
heard
And
realize
period.
no,
period.
and period. Because if they let you go, how many times you've been told that this is an at will employer? Okay, so that's just swinging on his side. No, ma'am. That
Yeah. No.
means right.
It goes
So
both.
all of that 2 week notice that we were raised to,
Yeah.
that was mandatory, that was gratis, that was grace that we were giving to them.
That's it.
Okay, because I've worked for companies, and I'm talking about prestigious companies that, girl, somebody would be called up to HR and you didn't see them no more.
Gone.
Okay, their desk was cleaned out by their, now see, you know, this is a different time, right? Because now you don't want to be around that kind of stuff because somebody might come back.
Right.
But your workers packed up your desk and they, you know what I mean, it was downstairs, you know, just crazy stuff. They will let you go. They will let you work to the end of the day. I've seen this happen too. And even some comedians talk about it. I think what's the name was talking about it one time on the Kings of Comedy. They will have you work all day knowing damn well they're gonna fire you.
Yep.
And at the end,
Have your check ready. Everything.
and he would clown, talk about they knew they were gonna fire you. You had to you had to
Come on,
get up
give
and
you
try and get in there.
right.
No,
Oh
but
yeah.
seriously, all the
Mhm.
stuff that we were told were must do's and were having the right work ethic and everything were all in favor of the employer. And these millennials are like, okay, it needs to be beneficial to me the same way, at least.
Right.
I'm building
Exactly.
my skill set. That's why I'm here at this job. And as soon as I get what I need, I'm going to bounce.
Right. Exactly.
That's what time it is.
Exactly. I do agree. All
Mhm.
right. Okay, y'all. So this was really, really good. Though. This was awesome. So what's your closing words, Adrian?
I'm going to delete that part. Hold on. So we're not soft, we're smart. Choosing peace isn't weakness, it's wisdom.
Sheila, what are your closing words for this soft life conversation?
This isn't just a vibe, it's a healing era. Let's stop glorifying the grind and start glorifying joy.
That part.
Period.
Yes. Thank you. I knew I was waiting for you to say.
Period.
And
Yes.
for me, I say soft life isn't about luxury, it's about liberation. And Generation X, we've done enough to finally choose ease. So let's do this. Let's have this soft life. What was the other word you used for it, Adrian? Not soft life. What?
Serene.
Serene life.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I'm living the serene life, baby. That sounds so awesome. Like
Right?
on an island somewhere, serene,
Yes. Doesn't it
serene.
involve that? It's like, okay. The imagery, forget soft.
Oh my God,
Serene.
yes, serene.
Okay. That,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. All right, serene. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Sheila. What should they do? What should our folks do?
I think they should like, comment, and share.
Thank you, Adrian. Hey, thank you.
Yes, please like, comment, and share.
Make sure you share. Make sure you share. And if you have any suggestions or any topics you would like for us to discuss going further, please reach out to us in the comments and we'll be more than happy to go on and add you to our roster. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.